Welcome to the Score Fantasy Basketball Podcast. I am Waiver Wire Queen, and today I am going to talk about some players that have probably frustrated the hell out of you to start the season. These players have been playing, I don't want to say stinking it up because some of them are coming out of the funk, but yeah, stinking it up and just not performing where you drafted them at, or just pretty much not living up to expectations. And so far, they are helping your team lose instead of helping your team win, which is why they are on my list as the top players who have disappointed so far this season. All right. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can help the channel grow and so you can stay connected with us throughout the week because we will be dropping great content all week long to help you compete at the highest level in fantasy basketball. So you got that one player on your team that is just stinking it up to the point that you just want to scream, right? You want to just scream. Go on and scream. Just go on and do it. Feels good? No. You done took another L this week because you drafted this player to help your team, whether you drafted them to be a starter or one of the first players off your bench, because I always say that the bench is just as important as your starting lineup. So let's talk about some players that have really, so far, helped ruin your season. But it's all good because we are going to still work hard to redeem ourselves based on some players who haven't performed well. Let's get right into it and talk about some of these guys who have disappointed us so far this season. One thing I will say is I don't always jump on the bandwagon with players just because they perform really well one season. I like to see more. I don't want this small sample size. I need to see more consistency. And yes, I know it's 82 games, but no, I need to see more consistency in order for me to just be sold by a player. Now let's talk about Chris Vulture. Hope I'm saying his name correctly. Boucher. Yes. Forward/center with the Toronto Raptors. Obviously, this has been a disappointing start to the season because he is not living up to expectations and it is hurting your team. Some people may have drafted him to be their starting forward or center. Not me. He's one of those players who I look at like, okay, where you been at all this time? You had one good season and everybody was all hyped last year like, yeah, oh, next best thing. No. Park the brakes, pump it, slow it down because, again, I have to see more. I need to see more than one season, and it wasn't that great of a season. Okay, so let's talk about the statistics. So last season, he averaged 13 and a half points, 6.7 rebounds, 1.9 blocks. He averaged a little over 29 fantasy points, and he played 24 minutes last season. So last season was a solid year. If you can find a player who's getting you 29 points, because trust me, last season he was a player that people picked up off of the waiver wire. You could find that type of production on the waiver wire and it's long term for that season, then you have won. You have won waiver wire of a person of the year. You've done your job. So yes, of course, you lucked up on him. And now you're looking at this season like, okay, I'm expecting him to produce the same or even better. No, no, it's just not happening, right? It's not what you expected, of course. And so he has your team struggling, right? Because you probably drafted him to be your forward or your center to start, or one of the first players to come off your bench and help your team, and he's just not living up to those expectations, which is unfortunate, but it's expected because you just can't assume that a player gets an opportunity one season, he has his great season, and this is the only time he's done that it's going to be the same going forward. It just doesn't work like that. So what is he doing for your team this season? So this season, he's only averaging 6 points per game, 4.4 rebounds, 1 block. He has lost a lot of value because he's only playing 14.9 minutes. So he's getting about 17, between 17 and 18 fantasy points, which is a huge drop off. You are missing at least um 8 to 10, maybe even 12 fantasy points. It just depends on the league and how that league is set up. But that is huge. Okay. That is huge. That will cripple your team. If you're expecting someone to get you 30 fantasy points and they're barely getting you 20 fantasy points, yeah, it's going to hurt your team. It's going to hurt your team. And if you drafted him high or took a chance and drafted him even higher than his ADP, then you know what? He may cost you your league. Players like that will cost you your league when you draft them high with the expectation that they're going to do something and they just do not do it. Several reasons. I mean, Kylari's not there, so maybe he's not getting the ball. Well, you see his minutes are down. They have Scotty Barnes, who's playing really well. So there's a lot of factors. And they're in rebuild, and he's most likely not a part of that rebuild, because if he was truly a part of the rebuild, then he would not be playing only 14, 15 minutes a game. It would be so much higher than that, you know? So, yes, it's unfortunate, but it happens like that sometimes, and you just, you got to live with it. You got to deal with it. And unfortunately, he's a player that I wouldn't even have on my roster, or I would be trying to trade him, because there's so much better value out there on the waiver wire. And these players are actually playing more minutes, being more productive, and they have more long-term value. Right now, he doesn't even have short-term value. He doesn't have short or long-term value. So he's getting 17, 18 points. But it's not worth it when you can get someone else who is playing more, getting you more points. Okay. So I wouldn't have drafted him, because I just don't like to take that chance on players who just pop up out of nowhere. Like, hello, I am here. And it's one season. You're like, oh, okay. Who are you? Where did you pop up from? And again, like I said, it's just one season. And now he's come back down to earth. So you got to kind of watch out for those type of players, and you don't want to take chances on those type of players, because it will ruin your season and cost you the championship. And the goal is to win. Let's talk about Collin Sexton, guard with the Cavs. That's right. I actually prefer Darius Garland over Sexton, but no, he's still solid. But yes, stats going down. And part of it is because Ricky Rubio is there. And then you got Darius Garland, who's there, and Garland's stats are down a little. Cavs are in a rebuild mode, but they are playing their veterans as if they are a playoff team. They're not a playoff team, so I don't see why they have gone this route. But nonetheless, this is the route they choose to go. And so it's kind of hurt his production. I mean, he played over 35 minutes last season. Now those minutes have been reduced to 29. He averaged between 22 and 23 fantasy points this year. That's just much lower than what he did last year. And you're like, damn. Okay, so let's talk about his stats. So last season, he averaged 24.3 points per game, 3 rebounds, 4.4 assists, and 2.8 turnovers. So his turnovers are up this year, because he was averaging 2.8 last year, and that has gone up to 3.1. Assists have gone down to 1.9. Rebounds going slightly down to 2.9, and he's only averaging 17.3 points. So you're missing at least 10 points from Collin Sexton. So you expected him, say, to drop 30, and he's most likely getting you 20. Points going down, you're averaging 24 points per game, and that's going down to 17. That is a lot of points. That is a loss in production. And to start increasing your turnovers and decreasing your assists, that assist to turnover ratio is not good, because he's averaging more turnovers than assists, which is really, really bad. So right now, he's a player that is probably very disappointing to you, because you were expecting him to take the next step. Okay, I know the knock is, he doesn't pass the ball a lot, but still 4 assists, It's solid. But now when you're at 1.9 and your turnovers are much higher, that's a problem. And that's not good production because you're going to be missing points due to the fact that the assists are lower and the turnovers have gone up drastically compared to the assist totals. That's a very, very, very bad stat, you know? And then, like, again, his scoring has gone down in minutes. The kid should be playing more minutes. And I understand they may be wanting to showcase Ricky Rubio because maybe he's going to be on the trading block, which he should be. So move on from him. Like, let this young kid play. And if anything, if you were trying to showcase him so you can trade him, you've cut his minutes. Okay. The Cavs always do it backwards. They're in rebuild mode, but not playing their young talent as much as they did last season. They just backwards, but that's the Cavs way, y'all. Y'all already know how the Cavs do it out here in these fantasy basketball streets. Let's talk about Mr. James Harden. BK's in the house. Yeah. So James Harden should be, in my opinion, scoring more points, or at least where he was last season. But I still feel like it should be more because one thing about it is you are without Kyrie Irving. So that's 27 points. So to me, there's no excuse for James Harden to be averaging only 19.7 points per game. No excuse for it. Okay. He averaged 24.6 points last season. His rebounds are slightly down. He averaged 7.9 rebounds last season. That's down to 7.2. His assists have gone down from 10.8 to 8 assists. Obviously, you're seeing where that production has gone. And he's shooting only 37% from the field and not getting to the free throw line as much because no one is going for the whole flailing of the arms and all of that craziness. They are cutting down on it. So that was one reason why his scoring was much higher, because he was getting those calls. He's not getting those calls anymore. So that hurts his scoring. I want to say I believe that he's going to pick it up. However, he needs to pick it up because you're missing about 10 fantasy points from James Harden, okay? You drafted James Harden most likely in the top 5, okay? You drafted him in the first round, most likely in the top 5, because you were thinking that, okay, he's going to average a triple-double. He's going to at least average 11 assists, 25, 27 points, more opportunities since there's no Kyrie in the building. No, he out here slowing it down. He's stacking with the points and the assists. But I want to say that Harden is going to pick it up. That shooting percentage has to increase because he is under 40. He shot about 44, 45% last year. So to be at 37, and yes, it is early in the season and it's not that many games into the season, but still it is just not a good stat for him to be inefficient and not getting to the free throw line as much as he has in the past. That is bad. That is bad for your team, especially where you drafted him at. You are drafting him to score at least 50 fantasy points per game. That's what you expect when you are drafting in the first round. You're expecting that kind of production. You're not expecting him to be on the low end of 40 or in the 30s. That's not good production from someone you drafted in the first round to be the building block of your team in fantasy basketball. So I can understand the frustration and why you want to trade him. I do feel like he's going to get better as the season goes on, because he started off slow last season. So he is going to pick it up. But if you feel that you want to go a different direction and trade him, make sure that you get the right value from him. Make sure you get someone who's getting the production that you were expecting him to get this season. If you were expecting him to get 50, then you need to get somebody who's getting 45 to 50 points or even more. Don't sell yourself short in a trade. Do not trade him and not get back that value. You can still get great value from him based on his name, because not everyone is feeling like, hey, 39, 40 points is really bad. Some people are like, that's good. But no, that the reason why you drafted him was 50 plus, and he's not getting that. So he's not working for you. And if you want to move, make a move. Just know that You make that move and he starts performing well later on in the season, gets to that 50, you better hope the person you traded him for is worth it. Or if you want to trade him, see if you can get more than one player. There's some younger players who are producing at a higher rate, more efficient right now, and they have long-term value. So trust me, Harden is going to pick it up. But if you don't feel like you can wait, then make the move, but just be sure that you are getting equal value of Harden before this season. Don't get the value that he is right now, because I expect him to improve his stats. So don't sell yourself short, or it's going to come back to bite you in the butt here. Let's talk about Malik Beasley. Okay, so why is he on this list? He's on this list. Yes, he's not one of the most known players, but he's on this list because he's been stinking it up, like stinking it. It's stinking it up, disappointing everybody early on in this season. It's unfortunate, but it happens. And we got to talk about it, right? Yes, we do. Yes. So he is not starting anymore, obviously, because D'Angelo Russell is back. And then you got Anthony Edwards, who's the young, talented guard. And then they did bring Patrick Beverly, and he's playing at least 21 minutes per game. So Beasley last season, he averaged 19 points, 4.4 rebounds, 2.4 assists. Now this season he's averaging 8.8 points, 2 rebounds, 2.2 assists. Now when you drafted Beasley, you most likely drafted him to come off your bench and help your bench out. But you thought you were getting 29.8 or 30, somewhere in that vicinity, fantasy points to help your bench. No. It's more like 18, 19. That's the production you are finding on the waiver wire. So when you drafted him based on his performance last season. His points are down. Everything is down. And his fantasy points have gone down 8 to 9 points, which hurts your team because, again, you most likely drafted him to be one of that building blocks to help your team when your starters are out due to injury, COVID protocol, load management, because we know you love load management, and other matters. But he's not producing that much. You can't go from 19.6 points to 8.8 points and think that that's not going to hurt your team. That's definitely going to hurt a team. You know, his minutes are down from 32.8 to 22.4 minutes. That is not good at all. I mean, but Russell is back. So it was expected, but not at this rate. I mean, he went from shooting 16 shots per game last season to 8, and his field goal percentage is at 39, which is not good. So he's not doing much for you, and he's inefficient, and he's not shooting at a high rate. So for me, he's somebody that I dropped, and I got better options, better players through the waiver wire. I was able to pick up a few players to help me. I had Malik Beasley in 2 leagues, and I was able to pick up Cole Anthony in one of those leagues to help me, which obviously you know what Cole Anthony is doing. So you know that turned out to be a really good move for my team. Again, if you can find someone like Cole Anthony on waivers, which he's still available in some leagues, and you can move on from Beasley, that's a great win for you. That is a really good move because Beasley's not going to produce what Cole Anthony is producing unless someone is removed from the starting lineup due to injuries or something else. You know, we don't want to see that happen because we don't want to see players get hurt. So right now, his value is so low. It's down. It's like we can go find someone else who's going to produce even more. And they're playing starter minutes. Cole Anthony is starting. So if you were able to pick him up, and it's like, great. And if you had Beasley and you made that move, Anthony for Beasley, you're winning, okay? You're winning for real. I mean, geez. Let's talk about Kylari. Obviously, and this is just not even for fantasy purposes. This is for Miami Heat fans. Y'all thought they were getting this point guard was going to most likely give him 17 points, 7, 8 rebounds, maybe 7 assists. It's not happening, right? right now to start the season. He's averaging only 8 points per game. He's getting you to 7 assists, so you're happy there. But Kylari, he's not performing at the level that most people expected him to perform. That should go up, but goodness gracious, that's very, very hard to swallow because you definitely didn't draft Kylari with the expectation that he was only going to score 8 points per game. You drafted this guy to score 17 points, get you 6, 7 assists, and at least 4 or 5 rebounds. You did not draft him to be that guy who was going to come in there and just pretty much stink it up for your team. That's what he's doing right now. And he's not a player that you want on your team. Like for me, I would be trying to move him and add someone else who has better value because the value is not there right now. It's just not. Like again, you drafted him as a 17-7 guy and he's getting you 8-7. That's a lot of points missing and that's not good production for your team. I do expect him to pick it up, but is he going to pick it up enough to where you should keep him on your roster? I don't think so because there's some players on the Heat who are really playing well, and there's a lot of mouths to feed out there. And he's not on Toronto anymore. When he was on Toronto, he was the main guy, in my opinion, because he had been there the longest. Obviously, with DeRozan no longer in the building, and then Kawhi obviously not there, so you were the lead guy. Now you got to deal with Jimmy, Bam, Duncan, Tyler. It's a lot of mouths to feed, and he's not being fed a lot, I'll see, with 8 points per game. But nonetheless, I expect him to pick it up. So if he's a player that you can hold all the way at the end of your bench until he starts picking it up, cool. But for me, I don't have time and I don't have the patience for a player who I drafted to start to be playing that bad because he's playing worse than players who are on waivers. Again, I would prefer Cole Anthony over him right now. You see what the production is with Cole Anthony again. Let's talk about a few players I mentioned early on this week. These players, I said, don't worry. Don't worry and don't panic. I still believe that. However, we got to talk about it. Let's talk about Devin Booker. He's on my don't worry, don't panic list because he tends to start off slow. He started off a bit slow last year. I had him last year and I was rolling my eyes. I was frustrated and I was like, I'm about to trade him. I'm about to throw away Booker. No, don't do it because he's going to pick it up. You're starting to see that. He, to me, got the finals hangover. He lost the finals, didn't play well in the finals. I understand it, but fantasy purposes, of course, if you own him, you are frustrated and want to move on from him. I'm telling you to hold, okay? Don't let him go. Right now, he is averaging 18 points, 4.3 rebounds, 4 assists. He's only shooting a little over 39% from the field, and he's not even shooting that good from three-point field goals, which is his thing. He's supposed to be a shooter, right? At one point, people were comparing him to Clay. Clay shooting no 33%. I mean, Clay lighting it up, practicing, trying to get ready to come back. But damn, when Clay out there, he ain't shooting 33% from the field, from the threes, or 39% from the field. But like I said, don't worry because Booker had a slow start last season, and I expect him to pick it up tremendously. He's going to pick it up, and you're going to be pleased that you did not abort mission and panic, hit that panic button and move on from him. Glad didn't do that, right? Don't do it. He's gonna pick it up. So you figure he averaged 25 points last season, so he's capable of doing that, right? And that 18 is going to increase, and that field goal percentage should increase. Just be patient because he's a career 45% shooter from the field. So be patient. Don't trade him unless you're getting Jaylen Brown or somebody like that. You're not gonna get, but be patient, okay? Booker will improve. Michael Porter Jr. I have been so high on Michael Porter Jr., but god damn it, I don't know what's going on out here in these fantasy basketball streets with Porter. I mean, he's only averaging 11 points, 4 rebounds, 2.7 assists, shooting only 38% from the field. That's not good. That's not going to cut it for a player that you took a chance on as a player who's going to take it to the next level. You know, he averaged 19 points last season. You most likely were thinking he was going to go from 19 to maybe 22, 23, especially with Jamal Murray out. You didn't expect him to go from 19 to 11 points per game. It's just unacceptable, and it has to improve, especially the field goal percentage. This is his bread and butter. He's an offensive player, okay? You're putting him out there. Denver drafted him because he's an offensive weapon. You drafted him for offense, okay? And shooting 38% is not good, efficient offense, especially when he shot over 54% last season and 7 rebounds. He's not even doing rebounds right now, okay? 4 rebounds. He averaged 7. Stats are down. You know, I don't really like the Aaron Gordon fit that much. I do feel like he's going to pick it up. So hold, especially in a dynasty league. If you can't afford to hold in a redraft league, in a dynasty league, hold, because he should pick it up. He's going to pick it up, y'all. He's going to pick it up, and you're going to be like, whew, I'm glad I kept him on my dynasty team. He definitely is going to pick it up. I think he'll pick it up even more once Jamal Murray returns. Don't give up on Porter Jr., okay? Even though he's stinking it up. He's stinking it up really bad. Whew. He close to getting traded, right? Yeah, just hold, y'all. I expect him to get it going. And another player, Bradley Beal. Hold. I talked about holding and not panicking on Bradley Beal early on in the week, and I feel the same way. I still feel hold him, don't trade him, because he's starting to play well. He's had over 45 fantasy points the last 2 games. So he's starting to pick it up. Okay. So you see his stats are down. He's shooting 36% from the field. I expect that to go up. The 21% from threes is just awful. It's awful. But he's never been a really good, great 3-point shooter. You think he is, but when you look closely at the stats, you're like, oh no, I thought he shot better than that. And then you look at him and you're like, damn, woo, you ain't even hitting in the 40s. But 21 is just really bad for him. So I expect that to improve, and that 21 points per game should go up. He's a career 22 and 45% field goal percentage. So 22 points for his career, that's going to go up, okay? And right now, there's several factors. They have, to me, a better team. You got Spencer Dinwiddie. You got Montrez. You got Kyle Kuzma. They're playing really well. So he's not having to score a whole lot of points. But I still feel like he's someone you keep. Yes. So he averaged over 44, 45 fantasy points last season. That's down to 28, 29 fantasy points. That's going to go up by a lot, okay? But don't expect him to be that 44-point guy this season because of all the other offensive weapons they added to the team. You figure they moved on from Westbrook, but they added a few players who can really help with the scoring and take the load off. So Bill doesn't have to drop 30, 40 points per game, right? He doesn't have to. The last 2 seasons, he's been asked to average over 30 points per game because Wall wasn't available and the team just stank. The roster wasn't that great. Now, better players, better offensive players, I'll say, and he doesn't have to do that. So don't expect what he did last season. I don't see that this year, which sucks because some people may have taken a chance and drafted him late in the first round or definitely early in the second round. But he's not going to do that, okay? Not with what they have around. But he's still going to get you some points. He's going to get you more than 28, 29 for the remainder of the season long term. He still has great value long term. But if you can get Jaylen Brown for him, or Jaylen Brown, maybe Bill and somebody else, okay, fine, because you're getting Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown's a 2-way player. You know how I love these 2-ways. 2-way players are the best because they're going to get you points. They're going to stuff the stats. You're going to have so much from them than just points because someone just scores. You're going to get everything. So just understand that with Bradley Bill. All right, y'all, make sure you hit the like button and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can stay connected throughout the week because we'll have great content. Also, check out my video on how to set your rosters up. If you have issues setting your rosters up, make sure you check out that video on the Score Fantasy Basketball YouTube channel. Tell you how to set your lineups up in Yahoo and on the Sleeper app. So check out that video if you're having issues with that. Also, go on over to the channel and make sure you subscribe for more on fantasy basketball. All right, y'all. Peace.